Hey everybody, welcome in and happy Monday. It's hard to believe it's Monday already. The weekend just went so fast. So just waiting for the sound to kick in, making sure we are live and you guys can hear me. And it does. It's always good when things work. So quick crypto market live update. Let's go. As usual, if you like it, hit like, subscribe. If you're not already subscribed, for the best information, hopefully, on the internet. So, math, money, and freedom. That's what the channel's all about. And none of this is investment advice. This is just edutainment. Just look at the market today. I was hoping that Bitcoin would flip green. It was toying with it. It was like literally $100 away from going green a few minutes ago. It didn't. And now it's gone down a bit. It's 42,740. And we'll see what will happen if you guys are bringing the good juju. But this is the scene today. A lot of red with some green. And I won't mention the big green box. I'm not allowed to mention that anymore. And Avalanche is also green. A little bit of Filecoin, which is interesting considering mining in China. There's a lot of that is done there. So it's a surprising rebound. Luna is there too. And Phantom. And that is the green story. But the good news is Ethereum is above 3K again, which is fantastic. Cardano, despite a ton of brilliant news and partnership over the weekend, is still down. So not sure what's up with that. Anyway, let's talk more in detail about Bitcoin and where we're going. This is a very bullish chart. New Bitcoin chart, Bitcoin to $640,000 in December. Of course, this is Glenn Hoddle. Probably much more of a joke, but hoping something like this will happen. But we'll see. You never know. With Bitcoin, you literally never know. And technically, if you look at some of the escalations in the past, 640K is not beyond the realm of probability or possibility. So we'll see. Second of all, let's talk about the supply shock pending. You've heard a lot about this a ton in the past, but this is very important to look at. And this is from Will Clemente. He put this together. You see the little red boxes. They are basically, they go to indicate a supply shock before. And every time that one of these red boxes exists, a big move has typically followed. And you can see some of the big moves there and over the different periods of time. So the typical returns after we get one of these red boxes is between 54%, 58%, 67%, and now we're entering one. So the question is, what's it going to be? Somewhere between hopefully 54 and 67 will be quite fine. Thank you very much. And that'll take us nearly to the goal we have for this market quarter. But let's talk about some more details here to shed a little bit more light on exactly what's going on. So here you will see the unprecedented outflows. And this is the first time I've seen one that makes it so clear to show you. The red is when crypto, Bitcoin, leaves the exchanges. And here you can just see ever since March 2020, Bitcoin has just been leaving the exchanges. So my theory, everybody, is a little bit different. As I always say, this cycle is different for a whole host of different reasons. So this is what they call the net position change metric. And it's never happened like this before. Now, basically from July to September, there's been a significant outflow range between 80,000 and 100,000 Bitcoins per month. And over time, they are increasing. So basically, I believe this is the new world order we are in. The new institutional investors are buying Bitcoin and they're putting it in cold storage. That's what's going on here. So when I talk about an elongated cycle and supply being so scant and everything else, this chart points exactly to that. So again, extremely bullish, and let's monitor this carefully. Of course, there is the caveat that we should always be aware of. When you see a big flow onto the exchanges, that can be a bearish sign. So be careful, everybody. And we'll speak a bit more about animals towards the end as well. So speaking of outflows, the inflows are up. This shows the 6th straight week of inflows into cryptocurrency, mainly into Bitcoin. Typically, when the inflows come into the market, half goes into Bitcoin. So Bitcoin had a $50 million cash infusion last week. Ethereum had a little bit less, I think about $20 million, $25 million. And the week prior, Ethereum only saw 6 million. So at least Ethereum has tripled in just a week. Now, the other thing that's interesting to note is the third and fourth largest inflows were Solana and Polkadot, which is great. All of my favorite little creatures are attracting institutional money. So that's good news there. Now, let's look at Plan B and talk about a stock-to-flow model. This basically gives the stock-to-flow model of score of Bitcoin a score of 56, which based on other precious assets, they should place the value of Bitcoin at about $288,000. This has not changed all year in, but we're going to still hear a lot of people say, well, stock-to-flow is invalidated, it doesn't count, it doesn't matter. But yes, it does. And a quick refresher as to what it means compared to other assets. You can see here, this is a cool stock-to-flow ratio, just to explain exactly how rare Bitcoin is. So palladium is one of the rarest metals on Earth. It's even more scarce than platinum. In fact, it's, I think, about 15 times more scarce to be precise. And of the three precious metals we all know, gold, silver, platinum, gold is the rarest with a score in the Earth's surface of about 0.004 parts per million. Palladium is about 0.005 parts per million, and silver is about 0.075 parts per million. But the point here is, you can find these things by digging in the ground. You can't find extra Bitcoin by digging in the ground. So my thesis is, again, why I fell in love with Bitcoin in 2017 was because it is ultra scarce. So thought I'd share that. Just, and there could even be asteroids that are loaded with gold as well. So a big thank you to Deutsche Bank for promoting and having Marion Labour as your chief macro strategist. She believes Bitcoin, and this is from Deutsche Bank as well, one of the pro-crypto banks out there. They are few and far between. But she believes Bitcoin will become 21st century gold, which is great. She says Ethereum will become 21st century silver. But did warn us all, everybody, there could be a little bit of volatility on the way, so buckle in as always. But, when you have such an asymmetric bet, such a strong asset, volatility is part of the game, so don't worry. And speaking of other investment geniuses, the corrupt JP Morgan, Mr. Dimon, believes Bitcoin could 10x from here. Okay, a 10x from here is ballpark 450K, give or take. But would he touch it? No. He would never touch Bitcoin. Never. It's bad. Even though it's going to 10x, it's bad. Or he probably makes more money manipulating metal markets. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe a joke. Who knows? Maybe he has a big bag of Bitcoin anyway. But the point is, who can you trust these days? It is staggering. So let's talk a bit about China as well. So the China ban isn't bad at all for Bitcoin. It hasn't actually been hurting Bitcoin at all. So thank you to dYdX and Uniswap. Chinese investors have figured out a way to still invest. So they're draining their money from the Chinese exchanges like Huobi, and they're moving to decentralized exchanges. Now, if you've never used one, you should try and experiment, because there could come a day, everybody, not financial advice, but it's important to be versed with how these things work. Take a tiny bit of Ethereum or a stablecoin, stick it on Uniswap and play. It's well worth it. It's super simple, but it's not as easy as opening up something like a Coinbase account. Although some people would say with some of the KYC restrictions these days, it can be extremely hard. So the good news is you can ban it, but you can't stop people from investing in Bitcoin. That's great. So well done, China. I mean, well done, Chinese investors, not Chinese presidents. So this is another thing about how ETH gas is really out of control. And I don't even know how this happened, but Bitfinex spent $23.7 million on a transaction to move $100,000 of Tether to an exchange. Now, I know that EIP 1559 is there to really reduce these types of fees and make fees easier to predict, but they still have a big problem. They will solve the problem, but this type of stuff should not be happening in this day and age. I think something similar happened in the year 2017 or 2018. I can't quite remember, but for this to still be happening is ridiculous. And now, unfortunately, somebody's probably going to get fired for doing this. Anyway, we'll see. Maybe the miners will give them a refund. Who knows? I know a big Ethereum miner just shut down their Chinese Ethereum miner just shut down their mining operation today. Now, back to China, dYdX was 15% larger in terms of volume than Coinbase for a 24-hour period. And this is due to the large number of Chinese users that are jumping into the DeFi world because they want to continue trading and enjoying all the pleasures that Bitcoin and other cryptos give. And a huge upspring as well in MetaMask users. So we'll see. But again, the future, as I always say, not only will be tokenized, but also completely decentralized. So it'll be very difficult for anybody to ban anything. They can try, but if you can find a way to get your assets into a portable type structure and not have to rely on traditional banking rails, fiat rails, etc., here you go. But remember as well, be very cautious playing with these exchanges. That's why it's good to practice a little bit first as we go forward. Now, who wants to get paid in crypto? Raise your hands, please. Let me know. But 1,000 people were surveyed, and I made a post earlier today on Twitter, and 2 people challenged me. But when you at least survey 1,000 people, and the populace is representative of the type of people you want to survey, it is statistically valid. So please don't say, oh, 1,000 is a very small number, but it is. So if you know anything about statistics, you'll know that. So 1,000 people were surveyed. 65.5% of employees responded that they would be at least somewhat willing to receive compensation in crypto. And over 28% of them said they would be very, very, very willing to be paid in crypto. And the demographics were very representative of your typical workforce. And only less than 10% rated the idea of employees starting to pay their salaries in crypto as very bad. Less than 10% said it was bad. So that is a startling transformation. Because if you had asked employees even 2 or 3 years ago, would you want to get paid in Bitcoin? Especially during the bear market, they'd say, no way. Give me that good fiat. Look how things have changed. Look how trust has changed. Everything has changed. Trust in banks, trust in governments. It's complete flip reversal. Speaking of getting paid, Coinbase, I know they weren't able to get their Lend product out, but Coinbase instead will soon allow its US customers to directly deposit their paycheck into a Coinbase account. Ta-da! Coinbase Card has also added the functionality to be able to spend US dollars from your Coinbase account. And this is a practical way to receive wages in crypto for millions of US workers who want to get paid in crypto, because now we know that more than 65% of the population do. And this is brilliant. So well done, Coinbase. I always said Coinbase are extremely innovative in what they're doing. And I think that's one of the reasons Kathy Wood likes them. And I hold a little Coinbase myself. In fact, my limit order just missed by $2 today. Is like, ugh. Anyway, maybe tomorrow. Hopefully for a little bit of a dip. But this is very, very interesting news as well. I guess people want to be like the NFL football players and basketball players that are all getting paid in crypto. So this is a little bit of regulatory news. The SEC is digging deep. So the reason I mentioned this one here, this is SEC levies charge against alleged meme stock wash traders. They used to, in the old days, focus on the big fish. What was interesting about this case, they were going after the smaller fish. This was a case of a trader who brought about $600,000 in liquidity rebates and playing with some options. His partner also made about $50,000, which is extremely small. And the trading activity that they did skewed volume in certain options contracts and induced other traders to place trades in otherwise illiquid option contracts. So they were being tricked. So I always tell people, I told some people today as well, do not touch options unless you really, really know what you're doing. But the point of this as well, options are dangerous. And number 2, the SEC is even going after small fish that are playing games out there. So watch out, everybody. They're watching everything. Now, a little bit of other news. There is a tiny risk that the US government could shut down. And, that's how good our government is here in the US. They just fight. They play these political games and they fight about raising the debt ceiling to keep the lights on in the office. But you know what we learned during the Trump administration? I think the government was closed for 21 days. Everything was fine, except for the government workers didn't get paid, of course. But typically what's interesting about this is, let me pop back up, the stock market over the last 25 years or so has actually reacted very positively right after a government shutdown with very large bounces. So if history will repeat, a government shutdown could be good for the stock market. So let's wait and see what happens next. Now, a little bit of investment advice news, and some people do not do their own research. We always say, do your own research. This is edutainment. But 45% of crypto owners said they would buy an altcoin based on this one factor, which was shocking to me. And of the people who participated in the poll, 45% said they would follow a celebrity or an influencer or buy a crypto based on advice of somebody like a Kim Kardashian. Think about that. That means people are still getting very easily scammed. Half of the population nearly will buy something because it's shilled by somebody else. Please, everybody, please learn to do your own research. 95%, maybe more, of all the cryptos out there are, not good. I don't want to use any stronger words. So please learn to do your own research. And in terms of an expert crypto picker, this is Mr. Gox. This story I thought was so cute. And it warmed my heart. But this guy is living in a loving and very caring environment. There's no cruelty going on here. He's not being forced to trade or anything like that. He has a fully automated high-tech trading office and directly connected to his normal hamster-friendly home. And he has some friends there as well. And he picks the crypto that he likes. And this guy currently holds, I think, Tron, XRP, and Cardano, and crushes it, is beating Warren Buffett, S&P 500. He's actually beating Cathie Wood as well, which is kind of shocking. So watch out for your hamster advice. If you see any hamsters on YouTube and they're giving tips, maybe take it as investment advice. I'm not sure. Now, speaking of animals as well, this is a piece that came in, and I got 2 messages over the last month saying, oh, you can't say things like dead cat bounce. It's cruelty to animals. Guys, you guys know me better than anybody. I would never harm anything. In fact, I support and give back to animals. But these are 2 messages had bothered some people when I said things like dead cat bounce last week and other stuff. But I just want to go over some animal terms and strange terms in investing so you all know. If I ever use these, it's because they're ingrained in my brain for over 30 years. And it's the vernacular we use in this business. And you need to know these words so you don't get wrecked out there in the market. So you got your bull and your bear markets, you should all know. We've got the saying that pigs get slaughtered. This does not mean we eat or want to kill any animals, but it means greed kills. Greed will hurt you in the markets. Whales are people that make big purchases. There's lots of Bitcoin whales, for example. Rabbits, we have a lot of those. They are things that jump around. They can't stay in something very long. Turtles are slow to buy. They're also slow to sell. Dead cat bounce, we covered that last week. Bottom fishers, I consider myself a bottom fisher. I like to buy cheap and sell high. Dogs of the Dow. That's a long story about that one, but that's how sometimes the dogs of the Dow for a previous year actually perform much better on a subsequent year than what used to be the top performers. Zombies are companies that are just waiting to die. I won't mention any movie theaters or other types of businesses out there that some people invest in. Suicide pill is like a poison pill for a business. And on and on and on. Elephants are like whales. Cats and dogs means everything goes up. Category killer like Walmart, etc. So I just want you to be familiar with those terms. They don't mean cruelty to animals. I don't know, for some reason the investment world uses these names. So, and also a big happy birthday. Can you believe Google is 23 years old today? And Google has changed the lives of so many. And I'm here talking to you now because of Google. I invest in Google, I hold Google, and I love Google. Finally, I have calculated a metric about once every 3 months, 1 in 6,000 people in my community get scammed. Everybody, remember, I got to drill this home again. Don't give anything to anybody. Don't trust anything from anyone, okay? It's that simple. I'll never reach out. Anybody who reaches out to you, it's a scammer. It's not me. I don't have the time, and I wouldn't anyway. And I would never ask you for anything. So please tell your friends and family, be careful out there. Okay, real simple. So now for a little bit of Q&A. Hope everybody's having a great Monday. And Bitcoin fell a little bit. Oh, it took a little wick down. But we like those wicks. Answers on a postcard if anybody can tell me why we like the wicks. So let's jump into some Q&A. Let me grab some coffee first. Ooh, a lot of questions today. Luke, you're back. Back in number one spot. Sailor Raoul debated securities law Saturday, and Sailor said the law is black and white for alts. Why are ETH, Sol, etc. not securities? Thoughts? So there is no guarantee that Sol is not a security. Bitcoin and Ethereum are considered not securities for a couple of reasons. One, Bitcoin didn't have an ICO. Ethereum did, but it was so long ago, it's probably past the statute of limitations. And also now Ethereum is sufficiently decentralized, so there is no one controlling body. Everything else is potentially subject to the scrutiny of the SEC. Now, being classed as a security doesn't mean they're going to shut these things down and kill them. They'll get a smack on the wrist, a fine, they'll be told to operate a certain way, and that's it. So everybody don't freak out. It's not too bad, but that's the net of it. Nick Johnson, when Bitcoin hits 100K and ETH 10K, how should I play my portfolio with an average price of 46K with one whole Bitcoin and 32 ETH? The average price is 2,300. The easy way, Nick, first of all, considering your cost basis, if we are lucky enough for these things to hit these levels, and all indicators say it's very, very possible, I would definitely take your money off the table, which means selling half your Bitcoin, half your Ethereum, if you want to lock in your gains. Let the rest ride or hedge them as they go down. So it sounds like you are concerned about your portfolio. I personally don't plan on selling any Bitcoin. I might sell some of my Ethereum if I see some ETH killers really catching up fast, and if I don't see them delivering against their promises of ETH 2.0 in the time frame that I require. So that is me not shilling. I have very large ETH bags, but very, very concerned as well. I think they'll pull it off, but I'm still cautiously optimistic. Nick Bedford from Australia. I'm going to accumulate a bag of BNB, at least short-term gainer for a BTC and ETH hodl swap. Will you do a BNB video? I don't like BNB, and I used to own BNB. I actually bought BNB early this year because it was my proxy play for Coinbase IPO or DPO. And that's what I did. But when I started seeing all the regulatory risk around BNB, I decided to get rid of it. And in fact, my whole BNB bag, I was very fortunate. I had a little bit of Solana, but I traded it all for Solana right before I went on vacation. So timing was great. Nikki, sorry I missed my question last time. 1.8 ETH, 10 Sol, invest about 1,600 Canadian a month. How should I allocate funds, both 50-50? If you're just doing ETH and Sol, I like 50-50 ratio. If you don't have a balance, if you're like 40% Sol, 60% Ethereum, I'd load it up till you get 50-50. Okay, so that means you go heavier on Sol first. That's exactly what I do. Caligula, good to see you. Time and time again, FUD narratives fail. What do you feel would be the next feeble-minded attempt at a new FUD narrative? Brilliant question. That sounds like a softball. But I did a slide on a video about 8 or 9 days ago, and I predicted the next piece of FUD, and that will be the ESG kind of environmental impact of crypto, but not from burning electricity, because then we will have proved to the world that 56% uses renewables. But then they're going to say, oh, well, when they dispose of these mining rigs, that leaves an awful mess in the environment. That's going to be the next piece of FUD, I think. So we'll see. But, that'll be so silly. Can you imagine just the paper pollution from financial services today? And by the way, DeFi is paperless. Ta-da! Saving trees. And yeah, great question, Caligula. Avant-garde films. If Evergrande causes a 2008 style crash, do you still see 100,000 Bitcoin anytime soon? Well, I think we're getting out of the woods from Evergrande. The market's digested it. The Chinese have printed a ton of money, about $45 billion in yuan since it began. US continues to print. There's just so much money out there. There's something like $4 trillion sitting in cash on the sidelines ready to go into the market. The US is going to print another $3.5 trillion. So it's just so much money, and that floats everything up, and it also debases everything. So if the stock market goes up by 15% this year, and the debasement's 15%, your stock market return is actually zero. It's flat. So I just think all the money printing is just going to keep inflating everything. including the markets. So that's where we are. I don't see a crash happening. And in addition, I see Bitcoin as being a flight to safety. That's my whole thesis right now. If the market is too top heavy, too expensive, nobody's touching bonds, nobody's buying gold, where else are you going to put your money? Bitcoin. And that narrative is now beginning to be digested. As I just spoke about, the head of Deutsche Bank Macro, she said, it's digital gold, and that's what people are looking for. And German investors are very conservative, and they're looking for their new gold. So Vaughn, just wondering if you were able to analyze Nucifer and keep including their soon-to-be merger to threshold. I have not had a chance, I'm afraid. But let me write that down. I just have so much to do, and I'm so behind. I have stocks to analyze. I've got Tesla to analyze. I've got Retire on series to build. I have 300 cryptos to stay on top of. And it was just, let me see. Let me remind myself on what it was, just to make sure. Oh my God, it looks terrible from the chart. Yikes. And circling, no, it's crap. I can tell you right now, it's ranked number 200, but the tokenomics just does not work. I would not touch it. There's, of the top 300 cryptos, there's 240 that are better than it right now that I can tell. So be careful, Vaughn. Would not touch it. Sorry for not getting to it earlier. But now I know I look at 3 different things from 3 different sources, and I can make a decision now in seconds. So it's pretty handy. Jonathan Block, what are your thoughts on Voyager stock? Voyager stock at $10. I like it. That's one of the ones I have to analyze. I'm going to do a deep dive into all the proxies that include a refresher on MicroStrategy, the mining companies, Galaxy, and Voyager as well. Again, I'm just so busy. I haven't had a chance, but that's coming, I promise. I have all the pieces there. I just need to plug in a ton of numbers, and that just takes time. Luke again, if ETH could compete with BTC as a store of value supply shock, will there come a day when BTC is not only the pre-seed asset? What's the sign of that? Not the only pristine asset. I think you mean pristine, not pre-seed. Might be a typo on our part. Yeah, there will... It's so weird. Like, all the big banks are pushing the store of value narrative for Ethereum ever since the ETH 2.0 and the triple halving will come about and making it deflationary. I kind of get that, especially because so much is running. But I still think there will always ever be one Bitcoin, at least until the year 2030, 2040, 2050, 2060. After that, who knows? But for the next 8 years, for sure, Bitcoin will be the most pristine store of value. Ethereum will take some market share and have more functionality, but we'll see. And if Ethereum does that, it means there will be other store of values as well, like Solana and others that we go down the train. So, Drew, not investing advice, but I'm moving 1K profit from Adam, thinking of putting into Matic. Thoughts, or is there a faster horse? I love Matic. I bought a lot last week when it went to, I think, $5, $6, and I still like it. Let me just see what's going on with Matic right now. And it's $8. Yes, I'm a buyer of Matic at $5, $5.50, $6 all day long. And it's just one of those things that has so much value, but it just hasn't been recognized by the markets. Some people have recognized it, but not enough to actually move it. And it also had a huge run this year. But when I benchmark 20 different metrics against all the other smart contract platforms, that comes out as number 3. So I like Matic. I've stopped buying because I have so much, but we'll see. So I think, Drew, that's a safe place to park. A little bit of Sol is always a safe place to park as well. The narrative around Solana is now that, ask anybody. Don't ask me, but Raoul Paul's on it. You got people on YouTube now recognizing the value of Solana. You got institutional investors building funds around it. So that's going to pump as well. Nemanja Matovic, how do you view a low volume on Bitcoin? That's a concern, but it's not a heavily traded asset. What happens is people are buying it and storing it, buying it, storing it. Once it gets stored, the volume goes down. And that's just exactly what's going on there. So it's not a concern. And I watched the money flows. Like I mentioned, 6 weeks, the last 6 weeks, ton of money flowing into crypto. Half, 50% goes straight to Bitcoin. And then 80 to 100,000 Bitcoin leave the exchanges every month. So that's what's happening. And that's part of the volume thing. Again, these are one-off transactions. And once they go into storage, most of the time they'll never come back. So hope that helps you with that. A ton of questions today. Wow, better pick up the speed. Ryan Promer, plot twist. China is stacking days behind the scenes, holding over 150K. How does the world react when announced? Yeah, the Chinese are very clever. There's a senator in the US today that said the US government needs to stack as well. Another one in Canada said the same thing. You've got countries like Ukraine. China have always had crypto. FBI had some crypto. El Salvador has crypto. So it's only a matter of time before the game theory hits treasuries of countries. So that's coming. Not a plot twist at all. In fact, China, even with 150,000 Bitcoin, won't be one of the biggest country holders of Bitcoin. So well done, China. You're smart. It'd be funny, though, wouldn't it, if they had a digital yuan that was backed by Bitcoin? that would be a plot twist. Make a movie out of that. Big Tree Blue Sea. 50% of my portfolio is in altcoins. I'm getting nervous. Is it time to convert to BTC? The further we go down the path, great question, the more people will start selling their altcoins, especially the garbage ones first. You're already seeing it now with things like Doge. Doge has just been on a 3-month dig down trajectory. You got XRP under $1 right now. People are all floating the crap. They're running out of patience. And a whole bunch of other names I would say, but I don't want to say because I don't want to offend anybody. Identify your riskiest assets first. Look at the last 3 months, the last 90 days. Look at the performance. Look at the chart. See if they have any upside. If they don't, be strong. Get rid of them. Jump on a winner. That's what you need to do. So very, very good question. But take your time because some of these might still run over the next 3 months. So you don't necessarily want to offload them too early, but just keep a close eye on them. But some of the ones that have no fundamentals behind them, flick them immediately. And that's something I'll be doing very shortly myself too. I do hold some bags of things like VeChain, HBAR, stuff like that. They'll be the first ones I take out. So I hope that helps. Crypto Poppy, what happens to stable coins if the dollar sinks? On stablecoins backed by the dollar? Give a shout out to Kelly Brown, please. Hey, Kelly Brown. Thanks for being here. That's a great question, Crypto Poppy. So basically, they are pegged to the dollar. We've seen big fluctuations with USDT just over the weekend because so many Chinese are flipping. There was so much demand for something when there's a lot of, or so much offloading, I should say, of something caused a decrease in price. So the actual price of Tether compared to the dollar was off by about 1.4%. So that's exactly what's going to happen. So yeah, a lot of people think they're moving to safety by being in things like stablecoins, which is good for a temporary place to place something. Please just be careful out there and what you're holding in the event that Evergrande does have a knock-on effect for USDT. You never know. So USDC is safer, but that may not even be safe as well. These things come with a risk, and that's why they have big high interest. Encore, what are your thoughts on Audius? Really bad, terrible economics. Forget Katy Perry, forget Lil Nas X, whoever they are. Spotify killer. The tokenomics of how that thing just prints tokens. There was somebody said to me, I criticize something that they hold. Now just imagine you own Google, and there's 1 million shares of Google out there. And then every year, Google issue another 1 million shares of Google. That's exactly what's happening. You know, in the crypto world, people don't look at this, but it's so important to look at. And that's why I never look at Audius. And in fact, I did a video on Theta, should I buy? I think it was about $7.50, $8 at the time when I released the video. I said I might buy under $6 because I believe it could go to 12 with a bull market run. And I said it's now under $5 and I'm still not buying. I won't touch it as well because it is not strong in that regard as well. SpongeBob, your input on Near Protocol. We looked at it. We don't like it, I'm afraid, SpongeBob. It didn't, you know, you got so much at your fingertips. Why buy things that are inferior to the top 10, top 15 cryptos that we've identified? So we don't touch it. Thanks for your donation as well. Playing with Pastels again, as always. Trish Hill, Wayne Calendar, HGW39, banned again. Finally caught a live one. All the best from New Zealand. Welcome in, Team Kiwi. You guys are so nice. Pronounce it Pro. Any update on Link? I've got a big bag and haven't seen much movement. Yeah, Link and Matic are two things that I stopped buying because I have enough and they just haven't moved. You know, there's even a huge announcement with Cardano using them as their Oracle. I thought they had their own Oracle called Mary, but that didn't work out. But it's just weak. It'll pop though. Like it's down around $23 now. Once Ethereum starts kicking in, people are going to look at the Ethereum ecosystem, and it should go up. My target remains very bullish for Chainlink. You know, $60 to $70 at the end of this bull run. So you just have to wait and see. German girl, Virginia, 4.3 ETH and 100 Sol. So tempted to sell 1 ETH and get more Sol since it may run faster. Yay or nay? Your balance is actually okay right now, but if you really want to, you can. But remember, one of the things that makes Ethereum very attractive is it has much more institutional investment. But what I did actually this afternoon, I did a calculation of the relative market caps with the money flow into these protocols. And even though I think Solana got half of the money flow over the last week compared to Ethereum, Ethereum is a lot bigger. So on a percentage basis, Solana is attracting much more money. So from that perspective, yes, I do believe Solana will be a faster horse in this cycle. Minimalist, any thoughts on Meta, the Metaverse ETF that just launched? A lot of China names there. I haven't looked at that Minimalist, but I will take a note and check out Meta. Meta, check out. So I do note these things down. Sorry about that. It's so hard to be on top of everything. JRAM, good to see you. 4 Bitcoin, 50 ETH, 150 Sol, 3,300 ADA, 2,300 Matic, 85 Link, 65 DOT. What more do I need? Will I be a millionaire end of year? Oh, yeah. Yeah, you could be, for sure. But just make sure you exit out of a couple of things there when the time comes. Yeah, your positions aren't too big for the ones I'd be worried about, so you should be fine. There's a very, very good chance you will be, yes. If the bull run does what everybody thinks it's going to do. And, you can do the math yourself. Like $100,000 Bitcoin, $8,900 Ethereum. You should just on those two alone nearly make it. Wesley McDonald, if you had to create an argument against Bitcoin, what would your 3 concerns arguments be? That's a tough one. Well, the 3 concerns that I would have would be, number 1, a government ban, but we know they can't do it, but it is still a concern for many people. Number 2 would be quantum computing. Maybe somebody secretly has a computer that has the ability to crack things like very, very old addresses, like, the original wallet with 1.04 million Bitcoins on it from Satoshi Nakamoto himself. And the third one would be central bank digital currencies, which is related to a ban. They're the three big concerns that I would have. But none of them would stop me from being irresponsibly long because the upside far exceeds the risk of the downside. Great question, Wesley. It just made me think deep there for a second. John Laza, my current bag, 348 Bitcoin, 3 ETH. Sorry. 900 ADA, 14 Sol. I have 10K to invest right now. How should I split it up? Well, I can't tell you what to do, but I can tell you what I did over the weekend. I had 5 limit orders out and I bought 2 things. I bought Aave at around 260 and I bought Bitcoin at 41K. So that's where I went. All my other limits didn't hit. So Bitcoin, everybody should be 50, 60% Bitcoin because it's the safest asset. Caligula for Patrick Riggins, you're too kind. What will happen when all potential Bitcoins are minted? Are we talking unfathomable prices? So, great question, and get this a lot. So, first of all, the last Bitcoin will be minted in the year 2140. So, you have about 120 years. And if you're still around to worry about that, good on you. I want some of your longevity secret. Second of all, more concerned about things like a lot of people are concerned about things like the transactions. But even if all the Bitcoin is technically minted, and if countries like El Salvador are still using it, that are doing millions of transactions a day, the miners get transaction fees and like a share of each piece. And with the advances in computer, it'll still be very lucrative to mine, I believe, at least until the year 2060. So we have 40 years before we have to really be concerned about that stuff. So in the meantime, enjoy the ride. Ariane G, have you looked into any projects building on Cardano? If you have you picked a horse? No. I I don't. I spent a lot of time looking at the Solana ecosystem. I didn't find any treasures there. So the Cardano system is too new, and I use metrics of things like TVL and growth rates and customers and transactions and all that type of stuff. And there's nothing yet alive enough for me to do that type of work. I know they're working on a stablecoin partnership and everything else, but are they going to catch up with Solana? They're not getting the money. They're not getting the institutional money. They don't have the partnerships. They don't have the adoption. The adoption, and this is, I'm going to get into trouble for this. It's all about adoption and network effect. And they're not getting it. Somebody sent me a joke today. Said, say this today on the video. And I said, no, I can't. I'll get into trouble. I'm so tempted to say it because it's a very funny one. But yeah, I haven't looked at the ecosystem around. Great question, but I don't see any value there. There's no point in looking at the ecosystem's not really up and running yet. And until it's up and running, then I decide. I follow the money, and I got to see the money in the execution. Doesn't mean I hate Cardano, and I still own some. Ryan Miano, thoughts on ETH32, 1 Bitcoin, historical divergence. Eventually, they will diverge over time. So if people like Raoul Pal are correct, calling for a $20,000 to $40,000 Ethereum, there's many big money center banks as well believing that's possible. And you look at the dwindling Ethereum on exchanges and the adoption, and you counterbalance that with the crazy gas fees, who knows where it's going to go. But, they do have the first mover advantage, but there's others chasing up the rear real fast. So if we do have a $20,000 ETH, that should be a $200,000 Bitcoin. So that's the way I look at it. And in the meantime, we'll just see. I still see Bitcoin getting the majority of the money that's flowing into the cryptos right now, but I monitor that every single week. So I'll let you know if I see any change. RC working desperately to become a whole coiner as spouse is disabled and unable to get life insurance. Any avenue to transfer my Roth IRA into Bitcoin IRA? Yeah, you should be able to transfer any IRA or even any 401k you have into a Bitcoin IRA. So that shouldn't be a problem. And worst case scenario, there are, not financial advice, but there are ways of withdrawing as well with that penalty if you suffer from some type of duress or other situation. So I don't know which state you're in, but there are some loopholes there. So dig into those as well, RC. You might be able to find a good solution. Ian Beckman, have you ever analyzed Near Protocol as an SCP? Yes, we have. It didn't qualify into the top 20, I'm afraid. We looked at all the smart contract platforms, and Near didn't even break the top 20. So, but everything's changing. Just because it didn't make it at the time we did the analysis doesn't mean it won't be very successful. But I'll take another look at it as well. Thank you, Ian, for the question. Luis Jose Lopez. Oh, these questions are so hard. 14 Sol, 424 ADA, 650 XRP, 20 DOT. Oh, XRP, please, everybody. Just be careful with that stuff. 5 Cosmos, 5 Ava, Ave, a little ETH. Any suggestion or allocation? Want to build a bankroll, hence my alt. yeah, just be careful with stuff that's just not performing. You can pretty much see from the charts what's working and what's not. Just like, again, if in doubt, look at the last 60 days and see how things shake out, and then look at growth rates of these different chains, and take it from there. But there's a few there I definitely would not hold. But I do like Polkadot, I do like Solana, and I like Aave and Ethereum. So I have those 4 at least, so you're good there. Luke Broyles, again, third time. Why do you not share the USD value of your portfolio? Personal reasons or safety? Nobody should share what they have. But yeah, you just be setting yourself up to be a target. But also, it can be kind of misleading as well. One of the reasons is I got into a lot of things very early. I got into Bitcoin early. I got into Ethereum early. I got into Google early. I got into Tesla very, very early. Square, all those things. So it might be misleading for people to try to build a similar portfolio because my cost basis is so low. So I'll give you an example. My cost basis on Ethereum is $200, and it's trading at 3,000 now. So even though those purchases were made early last year, it can be very misleading for people to try and replicate. So that's why I create brand new portfolios like the Retire on Equity and the Retire on Crypto portfolios. And then that would be how I would structure a portfolio starting today with a finite amount of money and dollar cost averaging in. Trish Hill, every day is a pleasure listening to you. Thank you, Trish. You Australians are so kind. Do you have any Australian educators like yourself that you would recommend following? So I tend to be as closed as I can. I only follow a very, very few people. I used to listen to Raoul Pal a lot. I like Lynn Alden. I like people like Jeff Foss. I like the old kind of macro, old school kind of investor people, the people really understand how markets work and money flows work and stuff like that. But I don't listen to other people. And I read a lot. I read copious amounts, 300, 400 articles a day. So that's where I get all my information, from trusted sources. So there's a couple of things I think are very good, like Medium, Seeking Alpha, Barron's. They're still pretty good sources as well of information. Medic Trevor, good to see you, buddy. What is the best time to run? When it is cold for a good sweat, or brisk to run longer? Early morning before the sun is too hot and the air still has a bit of mildew in it. So I live at altitude, so it's harder and the air is extremely dry. So you have to be careful with that. But also, first thing you do in the morning, if you run early, it gets the blood flowing and you get much higher increase the carb burn during the day. But if you run late at night, you're tired, you've got no energy, and you don't get the benefit for the whole day. And I also believe it's very good for oxygen in the brain. So it's like having 4 coffees, which I have as well. I actually have coffee before I run. And that's what you should do. So as early as possible. Literally, best thing to do, a little trick, is have your running gear beside your bed, roll out of bed, put it on, go run. Grab a coffee, go run. That way you don't get sidetracked. If you sit down with your computer and start doing email or whatever, you'll never get to it. Thanks for the donation as well. Phila G, Let's Learn. Rodney Tutil, Brokebank Vegan. Tuna Man, how are you? Mike S. Luna did very well today. It's a cool name. Mike Mancuso, Hot Sauce, Joshua Cross, and Dragonfire. A big thank you, everybody. I think that is a wrap because I don't see any more questions. Everybody be safe. Let's check before. Make sure it is a wrap. Market is volatile. I'm still waiting to see a couple of things if they pounce. But yeah, it's a new day. And Bitcoin bounced to the 42 level. Looks like we're not going to go to 41K again. Somebody asked me as well earlier, you said it was going to go to 45K. At the weekend, it hit 44,400, so I was 600 shy. So I'm returning my crystal ball for a new one. It was close, but I did nail the wick down as well on that Saturday night, which is cool. So everything looks good. Be safe, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow.